Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So for this video, I'm going to respond to Donald Trump's racist tweets that he put out on Sunday. I'm going to summarize some of the tweets, break it down piece by piece, provide my response piece by piece, and also I'm going to reply to his response to this whole controversy. So after the Congresswomen responded to him and after Nancy Pelosi made her statements, he did like a press conference where he tried to explain himself. So I'm going to respond to that as well. So let's start. Basically, Donald Trump attacked four women of color who are new members of Congress, basically telling them that they need to go back to the countries where they're from. And we know that this is problematic for a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, first of all, that kind of language is very similar to the language used by Nazis and KKK members, skinheads, and other white supremacists who basically wanted black people to go back to Africa. That's the rhetoric that they use. They want us out of this country because they believe that this is a white country. They believe that different ethnicities come into this country that are non-white are somehow undermining the country, that they are somehow dirtying up the country, polluting the country in a cultural sense. So they want like what they consider racial purity. So they want to have a separate country. They want America to be a white country. They want to make America white again. And that's basically what that slogan that Donald Trump has come out with, make America great again. That's what the slogan is all about, as Nancy Pelosi pointed out. And as I had pointed out well before that, that's what the underlying message is of this Trump administration. They are pandering to white supremacists who don't like seeing different people in this country, don't like the browning of America, and that actually fear white genocide. This is what Donald Trump is playing to. This is the crowd that Donald Trump is pandering to. And this is not a coincidence. This is a part of his reelection campaign. So he sent out the ICE agents to round people up. And now he's making these statements directed towards four women of color, attacking them, telling them that they need to go back to the country that they come from. So make no mistake about it. This is a clear example of racial dog whistling, pandering to a racist base. This man would not be in the White House if it wasn't for his pandering to racist white supremacists. It is no coincidence that these white supremacists love Donald Trump. It's no coincidence that you see these people at rallies wearing those Make America Great Again hats. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that Nazis celebrated the election of Donald Trump by having a convention and having people doing the Nazi salute. This is who Donald Trump is. This is the base that he relies upon. So this language about going back to where you come from is racist. Make no mistake about it. He doesn't tell white Americans to go back to where they come from, but he directs this kind of comment towards people of color. And it's not a coincidence, man. You know, um, this nation that we live in is a nation of immigrants. Many white Americans that are in this country are immigrants. I mean, they came to this country. Their grandparents and stuff came to this country, including people like Donald Trump. If Donald Trump is going to tell somebody to go back to where they came from, he needs to go back to where he came from. But it's like they have an exemption for Europeans, people that are white. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But this man, his family is a family of immigrants. His wife is an immigrant. Some Eastern European immigrant. His grandfather rather, came to this country from parts of Europe. But yet he wants to act like he's some kind of true American, as if he has more authority than these other people. And the fact of the matter is, all of these congresswomen that he was basically taking shots at are American citizens. They have every right to be in this country, just as much right as any other person in this country. Again, this is a nation of immigrants. Most of these white people that come to this country are immigrants. Like a lot of them are second generation Americans. And even for those that came on the Mayflower, you know, the Pilgrims or whatever, they came as settlers. They came as occupiers. This was not their country. They killed the native people that actually lived here. And after wiping out the native people, taking the native people's land, these people have the nerve and audacity to try to dictate who should come to this country. And I think that that is nonsensical. I think it is ridiculous. You know, the European settlers, the colonizers, they were the first illegal immigrants, but yet they want to act all like they're the only ones entitled to be here after they took this country through genocide and thievery and all that kind of stuff. So let's continue on. Like, another thing is Donald Trump said that they come from totally broken and crime infested countries. You know, he's talking about these congresswomen or whatever. And this is nothing new. I mean, this is what this man does. We remember not too long ago, it came out that this man referred to a whole continent of countries as shithole countries. This man referred to Haiti as a shithole country. This man has no respect for people of color. And this is just another reflection of that kind of mentality. This man talked about how we don't need to have more people coming from places like Haiti or Africa. We need to have more immigrants from places like Norway, meaning that this man has a preference for whiteness. He wants this country to be white. He doesn't want immigrants of color coming to this country. He is pandering to these people who fear the browning of America. These people fear what they call white genocide. And this man is playing up to this. He's playing up to this, and this is nothing but his re-election campaign. He's going to run on bigotry. He's going to run on divisiveness and racism. That's what this man is doing. He's doing this with the ICE raids, targeting communities of color. He's doing it by taking shots at these congresswomen, attacking them, saying that they need to go back to where they come from, speaking the language of white supremacy in 2019. It is an absolute disgrace that we have somebody like this in the White House. An open racist, a blatant racist. It's a shame that this exists. You know, this man talked about how they come from places that are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst countries, the most corrupt. If you want to look at the condition of countries in Africa and parts of Latin America, you have to look at the history of Western imperialism. You have to look at the history of colonialism. You have to look at the history of slavery. All of these things, neo-colonialism, the raping of so-called third world countries of their resources by the West. You have to look at all of those things when you assess the condition of these countries. The condition of these countries is in part due to the history of colonialism, the history of imperialism, the raping of these countries of their resources, the installing of puppet governments and dictatorships. These people install the dictators. And as long as they are serving the U.S. interests or these other Western powers' interests, they're fine with them being dictators. They're fine with them being corrupt. They're fine with them being oppressive. And then after creating the hell in those countries, you know, by installing these puppet leaders and raping these countries of their resources, both human and material, they had a nerve to talk about how messed up these countries are. When you look at the West and its role, you have to point the blame at the West, at least in huge part. Yeah, and another thing is like, you know, he called upon these congresswomen to fix the countries where they're from and then come to the U.S. and tell us what we can do here. I mean, again, that's ridiculous because they are citizens just like anybody else. Like, 3 of them were born in the United States. 1 was not born in the United States. Her parents immigrated here and she became a citizen in this country. They are all citizens and they have every single right to run for office, to get elected, and to push for change in this society. They have every right to do so. And, to suggest that they need to go back home when this is their home is absurd and ridiculous. And it's a shame that there are not enough people calling out Donald Trump on this nonsense. I mean, a lot of people have been speaking out, but more need to be speaking out on this. And another thing that I want to make, another point that I want to make before I close out and then get into his response to this controversy is this. I mean, unfortunately, you have this movement called ADOS, which in many ways is echoing this kind of anti-immigrant bigotry and racism. And it's just unfortunate that you have black people that are actually parroting the language of their oppressor, embracing the mentality of their oppressor. And they think that somehow that's benefiting black people. Somehow they have corrupted a movement for reparations and turned it into an anti-black immigrant bash fest. That's what they've done. And that's all I'll say about that. I just wanted to touch on that because in many ways they are reflecting this Trump mentality. While they claim to be progressive, while they claim to be revolutionaries, while they claim to be about the black community, yet they are aligning themselves with something that's diametrically opposed to the interests of black people. Now I want to get into what Donald Trump had to say in response to this controversy. He basically said this. He said, if you are not happy in our country, you can leave. That's what he had to say. That's one of the points that he made. He also said that these people hate America with a passion. First of all, the founding fathers, they talked about a more perfect union. And that's what people are doing when they are engaged in social justice movements, when they are pushing for change in society. They are fighting to make this country greater. They are fighting to make this country uphold the ideals that it professed to believe in. Ideals such as all men are created equal. All men are endowed with certain inalienable rights and all this stuff. They are holding this country accountable for that rhetoric. They are making the Constitution a living document that adapts to the times and the space and the reality in which we live. That's what they're doing. If people just had the mentality that they're not going to complain about anything, or they're just going to go back to Africa or whatever, go back to wherever, we would still be living under Jim Crow right now, where black people can't vote, where black people had to drink at the color fountain, sit at the back of the bus, couldn't eat at lunch counters, couldn't stay in hotels, couldn't travel on the bus or the train the way they want to or however they felt. We would still be living in that kind of country, a country where black people were forced to go to the worst schools. That's the kind of country we would be living in, a country where people could be lynched for any reason, for whistling at a white woman, for looking, for trying to exercise their right to vote, for doing damn near anything, they could be lynched. That's the kind of country we would still be living in if people did not press for change, if they didn't use their voice to make a difference. We have to reject this escapism type of model that these people try to present to us. This idea that if you don't like America, you need to go. That's ridiculous. If you love this country and what it's professed to stand for, you would fight to make it a better country. That's what you would do, not run around and escape and all that kind of stuff. And as you all know, that's part of the, if you've followed this channel, you are familiar with my critiques of black separatism, this idea that we can just run away from this country and somehow go to some fantastical utopia of black people. It's not going to happen. Most black people are not leaving this country. And since we are here and we're not going anywhere, we're going to fight to change this country to meet our needs and to serve our interests, just like every single other group does in this country. Another thing is this. He said that, a lot of these congresswomen are anti-Semitic and that they love Al-Qaeda. This is what this man said. I mean, first of all, the statement about loving Al-Qaeda is designed to stoke uh, Islamophobia and hatred towards Muslims. That's what it's designed for. And this is nothing new for this Trump administration. We know that he had a travel ban in place to try to prevent Muslims from coming to this country. You know, a racist and bigoted and anti-Islamic decree that this man entered. So this is nothing but a continuation. By talking about how some congresswoman, quote unquote, loves Al-Qaeda, he's trying to stoke fear and hatred. And in fact, he may inspire people to commit violence against members of Congress by using such inflammatory rhetoric. But this man is irresponsible. He has no respect for anybody or anything. And that's one of the reasons why this man needs to go, and we need to be the ones to push him out. You know, hopefully the members of Congress will grow a set and bring impeachment proceedings against this guy. And if not, if they won't do their job to take him out of office, we have to be the ones. We have to register to vote and vote this man out of office. That's what we have to do. They talked about how in the last election, the people who did not vote were responsible for helping Donald Trump become elected in this country. And the sad thing is, while you have people that rant and rave against white supremacy day and night, they helped elect this white supremacist by encouraging black people not to vote. And that's a damn shame, and they should be ashamed of themselves. They're not worthy to call themselves leaders. They're not worthy to be voices on here that deserve respect. But unfortunately, people are so ignorant and lost that they follow these people. But anyway, this is why, you know, you have a Donald Trump in office, you know, because of inaction, people not voting. But that's what we have to do, vote this man out. You know, he talked about anti-Semitism. None of these women that he's talking about are anti-Semitic. Speaking out against Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories is not anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Jewish to condemn colonialism. It's not anti-Jewish to condemn the oppression of the Palestinian people. That is not a question of religion. That's a question of humanity. That's what it's about. It's about human dignity and human rights. And when people speak out on those issues, they are not anti-Semitic. They are simply speaking out the truth on issues of relevance to the world. And what they have done is they have used that label anti-Semitic to shut people down and to shut people up. And you actually have people in Congress trying to pass a law where you can't even organize a boycott against the state of Israel because they know how effective those things are. We saw the effectiveness of boycotts during the Montgomery bus boycott. We saw the effectiveness of boycotts during the anti-apartheid movement. So these people are trying to silence people with this label of anti-Semitic, and I reject it every time. Of course, I'm opposed to any bigotry against anybody because of their religion, you know, bigotry against somebody simply because they're Jewish. But, you know, I have to speak out boldly against the oppression of Palestinian people and the oppression of all people. As the brother Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King told us, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that's the mentality that we have to have. And while this man gets on his high horse to talk about who's anti-Semitic, it's his supporters who are most anti-Semitic. Those people that were in Charlottesville saying blood and soil. The Jews will not replace us. These people support Donald Trump. That's his base. He doesn't speak to them about anti-Semitism. He only wants to use that to silence critics of Israel's oppressive policies. But he has no problem with these people marching with torches, talking about the Jews will not replace us. No problem at all with that, and that exposes his hypocrisy. that exposes the fact that he is not sincere when he expressed this concern about anti-Semitism. You know, and when this guy was asked about white nationalists identifying with this message, you know, this message that he tweeted out, he brushed that aside and he said, it doesn't concern me because I have many people that support me. And nobody should be surprised by this at all. Again, this is what this man does. He panders to white supremacists. He earned the endorsement of people like David Duke, organizations like the KKK and the alt-right, and all these people support this man because they support his racism, his bigotry, you know, this call to make America white again. So yeah, so I just had to like share my thoughts about this. Tell me what you all think. I will post articles in the description box that are the source for this particular video. So please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content over here. Some people have told me that they have not received notifications of my videos. They're not aware of me posting videos and stuff like that. So hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content. Because, you know, sometimes here on YouTube, what they do is they sub-ban channels on here where they basically make it hard for people to find your content, and they undermine your view count. And I'm pretty sure that that's what's going on with my channel, because there's no way you could have such a drastic decline in views without any kind of rational explanation. It's the same content, hard-hitting content. So yeah, so support this channel, share this channel, you know, let your people know about it, hit that notification bell. You know, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers. You know, I got, you know, under 1,000 to go to reach that point. So I hope that y'all can support me in this by sharing my channel with your friends and family. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Have a great night.